Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we have another episode brought to you by DLT Trading. Check them out for all of your knife and EDC needs. And today we're going to be taking a look at a very interesting little knife indeed. That is the giant Mouse Ace Riv. Now, if you guys like what you're seeing on this channel, do me a huge favor. Smash that subscribe button. Smash it right now. Follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 5.75 inches with a blade length coming in at 2.5 inches, a cutting edge coming in at 2.125 inches with a blade width of 1.13 inches. Blade thickness on this guy is 0.12 inches. Blade steel being L-Max with what was listed as a drop point blade. I'm going to go sheep's foot. I am calling this a sheep's foot blade, whether you like it or not, because to me, this is a sheep's foot blade. We have an almost full flat grind with a handle length coming in at 3.375 inches, a handle thickness of 0.43 inches with a handle width coming in right around 1 inch. Handle material on this guy is a Micarta show side with a titanium lock side. The lock on this guy is indeed a frame lock with a right hand only tip up carry, weight of 2.4 ounces, price of $195, and designed by my boy, I don't know him, but I really like the guy, Jesper Voxness. And man, oh man, this one does not disappoint when you talk about those Vox ergos, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's hold off on that. Let's take a look at some size comparisons here. We'll start off with the Finch 1929. I always want to call this the 1920 for some reason. No idea why, but it is indeed the 1929, and it's a pretty darn good knife in its own right. And then we also have the Spyderco Lil Native, and as you can see, it's not a big knife. Not a big knife at all, but yeah, still a really damn good knife. Very much in line with the length of these two knives. And now let's bring in some comparisons that I think are going to sit a lot better with everybody. Not necessarily because they're the same size, but it's the two knives that, in my opinion, and other people have said this too, I'm not the first to say this, it's like a mashup of these two knives. Gosh, what's wrong with me? The CRKT Pilar. I actually forgot the name of the Pilar for a second. I'm getting like lost in my thoughts. That's scary. And we also have the giant Mouse Ace Biblio. And that is exactly what this knife is, in my opinion, is a mishmash of these two knives to give you this. And it's a beautiful thing, you guys. It is. I'm kind of gushing about this knife because, and believe me, this knife has its flaws. We will go over that here in a second. But I love these two knives here. These are two of my favorite knives. Even though this is 8CR 13 MO crap, not a good steel, still love this knife. And this is the baby of these two. It's amazing. So good. I think you guys know what size of knife we're dealing with now. And now let's talk about this knife because it is very impressive. The blade especially is very impressive. We have a small but mighty sheep's foot blade here. Behind the edge reading of 13 thousandths on this guy. Very, very, very slicey little blade with almost that full flat grind. This is a perfect small slicing knife. I also really love the tip on this guy. I know I talk about the tip a lot on knives, but they're so important because usually whenever you're making a cut, the tip is going to be the first thing that's making contact with the surface most of the time, or yeah, pretty much all the time, unless you're starting at the end and you're going on with the belly. But for me, I'm opening up boxes, packages, bags of stuff. So I'm starting with the tip pretty much every time. And it's such a perfect tip because it's thin and slicey, but it also has enough reinforcement and steel behind it to make it nice and sturdy. And with a small knife, I think you tend to use the tip so much more on a small knife as you would like a bigger knife where you can really just work the whole blade. I feel like smaller knives, you're using more of the tip on a regular and more frequent basis. So very, very big point to highlight on this knife is the excellent tip it has. It also has that awesome giant mouse signature jimping right here, which, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's there for a reason because it does feel great. I just wonder how often you're going to put your thumb all the way up there because I'm probably going to keep it back to maximize, what little blade you have to work with. but I can definitely see times where that would absolutely come in handy, and it just feels great in hand. This blade also has a cutout here. Now this cutout is nothing special. It's pretty much what you see on the Biblio, but this cutout saves this knife. In all honesty, it absolutely saves it from being a not fun, not enjoyable, pain in the butt to use knife, and I will explain why very, very shortly. But going into handle and ergos, the ergos are excellent. The more I hold this in hand, I constantly debate whether I like this or whether I like the Pilar more. It's so tough because the Pilar to me is, with the choil, it's a full, hefty, good 4-finger grip. And so is the Riv, but I feel the clip just a little more. Now, the clip is not a hot spot, but since it is a deep carry clip, there's more of that bend at the back of it. I feel that clip more. Now, again, it would never even make me think twice about buying it because that's not an issue. But just in terms of ergos, I still think the Pilar feels a little better in hand. But that's not to take away from this because the ergos are still fantastic. It's still those hand-hugging ergos where your fingers just fall in place. There's no concerns of it slipping, or you just have a nice, solid purchase on such a small knife. Again, Vox doing a really good job of making a small knife fit in your hand like a big knife, and that is always a beautiful thing. One thing that, where am I? Whoop, got a little lost. Okay, between the contouring and the finger choil, yeah, it really does just melt in your hand. This does have just enough contouring to where you absolutely feel it. And sometimes this is hard to really notice, you guys. Sometimes you can put a knife in your hand and it feels a little extra good and you're not sure why. I would say if you look sideways, you'll probably see a little bit of contouring. Even this one, it almost looks flat looking at it because it's just such an ever so slight amount, but that does make a huge difference and it really does just feel great. Now, another thing that looks great is this Micarta. Feels and looks great. This is basically the same Micarta that is on the Ace Grand, or the first run that was made with the green Micarta. Looks, feels just like the same stuff, so no issue there. It has a very, very nice patinaed look to it. I love seeing the weave so clear, and your oils, they kind of sink into just the right spot, so you have that mix of lighter colors and dark colors. Just a great, great looking handle with an excellent finish. As I was saying about this wire clip, no, I don't have any serious issues with it. I've gotten used to the wire clips that Giant Mouse puts in their knives because I don't dislike them. I think they're great clips, but you just have to face the fact that you're going to feel these a lot more than you would a milled clip or a flat clip. You just do. But I'm okay with that. Even a smaller knife where I do notice it more, you feel it, but they're not hot spots. They're not pointy. They're all rounded. Everything on here is rounded and smooth. So no real issue, especially for a knife like this that is probably more of a fifth pocket knife. At least I would probably carry it as a fifth pocket knife. But it could also, this is another one though. It feels so good in hand and it feels so versatile. Like you have more blade to work with than you really do. I could see myself carrying this as a primary knife some days because it's just that versatile, that good of a blade. Yeah, just a really, really solid little design. Would you expect anything less from Vox? I mean, I honestly think Vox is probably the best one there is designing small knives because they're just all on point. Now the action on this guy. This is where you have a problem, and it's not, you gotta just let me explain. So it depends how you want to use this knife. If you want to middle finger flick this knife, I'm gonna say it right now. This is my favorite small knife of all time to middle finger flick. It is so easy, so effortless, so crisp, so snappy. It's fantastic. It really is fantastic. But if you want to use the flipper on this, that's another story. I hate this flipper. I absolutely hate this flipper because it's hard to push button. Sometimes, and it'll probably work this time. No, it's not. You have to really you have to really dig down. You cannot, sometimes you can like push button this and it'll pop out, but it's so iffy. I think a lot of it has to do with the lock bar pressure. It's really a pain in the butt to use this flipper tab. It can be a real annoyance on your index finger. You have to completely dig in with your tip, light switch it out for the flipper to work. Now it works. The flipper works. It kicks the blade out just fine. But I constantly go to do this, just push and kind of push and pull down, and it just doesn't work. I'm literally pushing so hard. I mean, there, look at the indentation on my finger of trying to kick it out. It's not going, and it pisses me off, in all honesty. But in all honesty, I also don't care because the middle finger flicking is so good. Guys, I'll tell you right now, I would buy this knife as is and do a flipper delete because I like the knife that much. I just hate the flipper tab. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't like the flipper tab on it, but the middle finger flicking action is so damn good. It really is. I mean, this would, if I was to just take size restrictions out, this would definitely be in the top 10, at least in the top 10 of my favorite knives to middle finger flick. It's so good, and I was so surprised by that. I was also shocked at how much I didn't like this flipper tab. But again, it does work. Once you get it down and you flip straight down, like all the way down, it does come out just fine. But I don't like not being able to push button a little knife like this, so I would do the flipper delete. Or in all honesty, you don't really need to do the flipper delete because that is another beautiful thing about this knife is even though the flipper kind of sucks in my opinion, it's not in the way. It never gets in the way of middle finger flicking it because it is a rather small flipper. And I mean, you have to have like real wide, thick hands for any part of your finger here or your hand area in general to get in the way of this flipper coming down. You just put it, your middle finger, it's very easy to get your middle finger in there and just kick it right out. It is fantastic. Really is that good. I'm going to stop raving about this, the middle finger flicking action, but it is some of the best I've ever experienced. And I like it so much, I'm seriously considering buying this knife because it really is that good. And you guys, Voxness is one of my favorite designers, so I don't know. I'm still on the edge, but this is a great action with this knife. Overall thoughts, I hate the flipper, but I love the knife as a whole. I really do. I don't have really any issues at all. The only reason I would probably do a flipper delete is just so I don't accidentally go to try flipping it and run into a wall. So that'd be the only reason. I mean, if I could just remember to tell myself just always middle finger flick it, I probably wouldn't do the flipper delete, but I'm not the smartest man in the world. So, yeah, I'd probably just do the flipper delete. But regardless, guys, this really is a great knife. Great steel, great ergos, great quality. $195 is kind of right there on the limit for this knife, I think. But I would pay it. I mean, I like it that much. I don't think it's completely out of line, but definitely walking a fine line of being too much. But it's in line with the rest of the Giant Mouse products if you look at them all as a whole. I can't really complain about it. So that's it, guys. That is the Ace Riv. Let me know what you think. I've heard a lot of other people rave about this blade, and for good reasons. Like I said, outside of that flipper tab, it's a home run in my opinion. Fantastic action, fantastic ergos. Everything about it is good. Let me know what you think. Would you guys buy this? Have you bought it? Tell me whatever you want to tell me. Look forward to seeing it. Hope you guys have a great day, and until the next one, I'm out.